Welcome back to Trade You for the Fruit Punch, episode 17. It's
Wow, you remember the episode still after
I
this
still
long.
remember the episodes. It's been a little while, but we had a little winter break.
Yeah, that's
Went
what it was.
away, New Year's, drank a little too much, ate a little too much, but we're back. Uh, Ari's also here, and we talk way too much. And I felt like this was a way for me to talk to him while he was at school. But since he and I see one another literally 100 times a day, I didn't feel the need to add to that by being part of the pod yet. But anyhow,
And what
so
he
we are
means by
back
that is he's the one who kept putting it off. Just so we're all on the same page here.
until the last few days.
That does
Anyhow,
not count. We were supposed to record for a
random
week before
thoughts,
that.
non sports related. Saw a commercial for something called Quivivio. Did you see this commercial? Lindsey
No.
Vaughn. Yeah. So it's an insomnia medicine.
Mhm.
And the stated side effects, are your standard, of course, no one ever calls me until now. Your side effects are your standard, worsening depression and suicidal thoughts. Those are pretty standard, right?
Standard.
Yeah. Um the other ones that really bothered me were like the temporary inability to move or talk. Felt like that was a
Sorry?
big problem. Up to several minutes. Hallucinations while you are going to sleep or waking up. And the best was the complex sleep behaviors, such as sleepwalking, sleep driving, which I hear is really safe these days. Yeah, preparing and eating food, making phone calls. This whole
These
drug
are all side effects?
potential. Now, normally they have to tell you, like they could test this on a million people. And if one person sleepwalks, I believe they have to put it in here. I don't know the rules around this, right? Like I haven't gotten that invested in this whole situation.
Uh-huh.
But like these side effects, besides the whole suicidal thoughts thing, which like, Advil has apparently. It doesn't. I don't know if it does. I didn't check. But like, yeah, everything has suicidal thoughts. But besides your customary suicidal thoughts as a side effect, like I felt like these were a little egregious, and just wanted to bring
Mhm.
that up. It's something that bothered me as I was watching this commercial with Lindsey Vaughn yesterday. So now we're
I'm
going to go
sure all
to our
four listeners were really invested in that portion.
yes. So I had a basketball game Monday night. My first game with a referee in 3 years.
Oh boy.
And so we haven't talked about it. But I'm going to ask you because you have no idea.
I have no idea.
Did we win? Yes or no?
Um, I'll go yes.
We did.
Okay.
Was how like what was this? Give me a score that you would think it would be.
A score?
Yeah.
I don't know how many points are typically scored in your league.
So assume about 90 points in this game. I'm giving you right. So assume about 90. I did the math real quick.
43-47.
Wow, close game. We won 43-47 in your mind. So we actually won 59-28.
Oh, lovely.
And and we only had 4-on-4. The court's a little bit smaller. And one of the guys actually lives around the corner from us. I've never said a word to him. I'm not a fan. If he's listening,
Interesting.
sorry, not a fan of your basketball game. You like a fine person on the street, little bit meatheadish, but anyway.
He's going to be so offended when he doesn't hear this.
When he doesn't hear this, yes. So now you know how many we scored 15. How many points do you think I had?
I mean, we're either talking you were MVP with like 17 or you had like 4.
So your father had I'm going to say 18, but it may have been 16. I may, after time, things start to get inflated. And it's been 2 days, so I figured maybe I've inflated by two. But I definitely had 16. I may have had 18 points.
So I
I
was right
went,
on the money with
you were
17
right
because
on the
it's
money.
somewhere in between
I
those.
went 2 for 5 from three. And I likely went either 5 or 6 for like 8 or 9. I think I only missed like 3 2-pointers.
That's
So
decent.
overall, like a really good game. Now, I don't usually count my rebounds and assists, but I've got to assume I had double numbers with double digit rebounds, and I likely had, I want to say 4 or 5 assists. So I had a
Okay.
nice game. I don't
But
count
you were
those.
never on triple double watch.
I was not on triple double watch. No, no, I
Okay.
was not. I was not close. No. Um, but at one point, the gentleman we may or may not have just mentioned, um, chicken winged me.
Oh, that never goes well.
Chicken winged me when they were down by 30. Like this wasn't like a chicken wing that when the game was still in question. And I didn't take too well to that, as you
You
can
never
imagine.
do.
I never do. And so as I was running down the court, I ran right next to the ref. And I told Jeff the ref, who I really like. Jeff
Jeff
and
the
I
ref.
Jeff the ref. Jeff and I
That's
developed a nice
perfection.
relationship. He's a great guy. He's a very good guy. He was very happy to see me. I was happy to see him. He was more happy to see me, just for the record. And that's okay. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
um, I said to him, I said, if he bows me again,
If he
it's not going to
bows
go.
you,
If he bows me, yeah. If he elbows me, if he bows me,
not
that's fine.
elbows. You had to shorten the word elbows.
It's a fair shortening. It's a very common. He threw a
It is
bow.
not.
You've never heard that before. He threw a bow.
I think
Come
it's
on.
stupid every time I hear it. I
I
didn't
think you're
peg
stupid.
you for it.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think you're stupid.
Insulting
This
your
is
co host?
yes, insulting my co-host. I think it's a perfectly reasonable um, way of just yeah.
It's
Anyway,
not.
it is.
It's
So
not.
I said if he bows me again,
Bows
I'm gonna
again.
bow him harder, and
I'm gonna bow him. I'm gonna
It's
bow him.
not gonna go well for him. And Jeff didn't quite hear me. He goes, "What, Key?" And I said, "Jeff, he just threw an elbow.
There it is.
Yeah, and if he does it again, I'm gonna throw one in his chest." And Jeff goes like, "I'll look out for it." But Jeff didn't really know what was going on, but this was my passive aggressive way of saying it loud enough for everybody maybe on the East Coast to hear. Like
As you
that's how
do.
loud I
As
was,
that
right?
is just that's your move.
Yes, that's my move. And so needless to say, he didn't throw any more elbows the rest of the game. He I think at the end almost tried to avoid the handshake, but still gave me the handshake, but reluctantly did.
Hmm.
And then I went to Jeff after the game and I said, Jeff, like, and he said, Gee, I didn't see it. I said, don't worry about it. I wasn't asking you for an offensive foul. Like, I know we don't call those in Jewish Community Center Monday night, like over 45 leagues. Now it's not an over 45 league. I was probably the oldest one on the court at
It
the time,
might as well be.
but it might as well be. We all play like we're over 45, even if we're not. Well, I am, but most of them are not. And so I said, Jeff, I wasn't looking for the offensive foul. I was really just making sure that one of two things would happen. The first one is he wouldn't do it again. He'd hear me because, again, I may as well have had a microphone or megaphone, not a microphone, a megaphone. Um, and the second one was in case he did it again, when I did elbow him in the chest, you wouldn't be surprised by my reaction.
Hmm.
And it would have been, right, as a uh, as
You
a
were letting him
retaliate.
know you'd already been provoked.
Yes, and that this was the retaliation would have been warranted.
Hmm.
But we had a laugh. We won 59-28, and all in all, it was a successful return to the court for your father. That's it. Another random thought. Did you happen to catch the game on Monday night? The college football championship game.
Only small parts of it.
Okay. So Stetson Bennett, I don't think a 37-year-old college quarterback should be allowed to play.
I would agree with you. And
I
I
think
know that they're claiming COVID years
are there
but
COVID years? Like, is that
apparently for Stetson Bennett there are.
now? Look, it's a great story, right? He enrolled at the University of Georgia in 1993,
Same
right?
year as you.
Right. and and he found that it was hard to make it on the team, so he then went to junior college and he took 16 years to get his community college degree, but he won a national championship at, and I don't know, by the way, I don't know how they figure out these national, there's like 18 national champions in the
Yeah,
community college
it's
JUCO
very
world.
strange.
I don't know how it works. It's like you win the California state championship, but all of a sudden you're like a national champion. I don't get it. Anyhow, so Stetson Bennett wins something at some JUCO, and he goes back to Georgia in 2012 and makes the team as a walk-on. And then they give him, they they give him a scholarship, and then
How
he
are we
loses his
continuing?
for the next 6 years. He kind of loses his place on the team, and then eventually last year, the starter gets hurt in like game one, and
This guy
he's
has had a full NFL career
in
in just
college.
his college career.
Oh no, I think he started playing football before Dan Marino did for the Miami Dolphins in the 80s. Like, I don't understand how this works,
He's
and
been
how
starting since before Tom Brady.
a 37-year-old man can be allowed to quarterback a college team. But you know what? Good for him. He's a Georgia legend. The sad part is he may not live long enough to actually
Oh
benefit
my
from
god.
that. Right here.
Oh my god.
Anyway, the other piece that really pleased me was that Mattress Mac, remember this guy?
Ugh, fucking asshole.
He lost $3 million on the game.
Yes.
He bet TCU for $3 million.
And
And while
they didn't even lose a close game. It wasn't like he could be like, oh, if they'd just gotten that extra field goal. No, it was quite
if
convincing.
they had just gotten that extra field goal, they would have lost by 55 points, not
Yeah.
58. Um, so I will say, it's bad for the consumer because Mattress Mac he gives it back, right? He allows his
Fuck that
patrons
guy.
to then get free mattresses. But as you said so eloquently just a second ago,
Mm-hmm.
fuck that guy. He bet on the Astros.
What do you mean bet on the Astros? He is an Astros fan.
I understand. He bet on the Astros.
And he was an asshole when he came to Philly. Like, we were not the problem. He was. But that's
Oh,
besides the
I
point.
wasn't around. I didn't see that. So, do we talk about the parking at stadiums now, or do we talk about that as part of the Eagles?
I think that's an Eagles thing.
You think it's an Eagles thing? Okay, so we'll talk about the
Well, I
parking.
mean, we start with the Eagles, so it's
Yeah, so we start with the
essentially
parking. So Ari and I went to, well, before we get there, right? Like, we haven't even talked about
there
the
was
Gardner Minshew
another
news.
game. Yeah.
And so, what did you think of Gardner? How did he do?
I think he should be cut effective immediately. I would rather we play a rookie quarterback or a quarterback as old as Stetson Bennett rather than playing Gardner Minshew.
So I don't think he played very well. I'll agree with that. And my comments early last year about Gardner
Did
Minshew
not
being
age so well.
but there are no receipts on those. So I
I
feel
could
like
find some. I could definitely find some if
you
I
have to go
looked.
way back in your texts. I don't
Well,
think.
in text, you can just look up a word and it'll show you all of the text that have that word in it. So if I just look up Minshew, let's see if you've texted me about Minshew.
Let's
Hold
see.
down the fort for a few minutes
Hold
and
down the
talk.
fort. So look, we won the game last week. Ari and I were there. But
Damn it, there's
prior,
nothing. God damn it.
yes, no receipts. So prior to the game, we left aggressively early, but it ended up not being so aggressively early. We got down the stadium, and I was going to park in this lot. That is a little bit of a walk, but it wasn't. It ended up not being so aggressively early. We got down the stadium, and I was going to park in this lot that is a little bit of a walk, but it wasn't. It ended up not being so aggressively early. We got down the stadium, and I was going to park in this lot that is a little bit of a walk, not so far of a walk. $45 to park, which is a little bit expensive. And they were turning people away.
You
And at
needed
this
like a
point,
pass.
you need who the fuck gets a pass for like an off-brand lot? Like,
Yeah,
do
who
they
the
even
fuck wants
sell
that?
those?
It's like a mile from. It's not actually a mile, but it's like, oh, it's a walk. No one's paying
So
$45 for a
if
walk.
you know Philadelphia, right? The stadium is essentially off of 11th Street. And the Wells Fargo Center is between 11th and Broad being 14th. And this is about 16, 17. They don't have the streets at that point, but it's like 16th or 17th. And so I think we're screwed. I think we're missing like the first quarter. But your dad pulled a rabbit out of his hat.
Well,
And
so
so,
first we skipped over a perfectly good spot because you got greedy,
well, the
and
spot
we
was
were.
around 20th.
Hang on, and
This
we
was
were
like a
both
good
in
mile.
agreement. We were both in agreement. As soon as you passed that, we
That it
were
might have
like,
been a
that was
mistake.
probably a mistake.
That it might have been a mistake. But so we pushed it. And by pushing it, we got like 5 blocks closer because this was close
It
to
was a
like,
good spot. We did get a good spot.
we got a really good spot, like really, really good. And we saved the $45, which we ended up spending on a really nice hat for you.
Yeah.
So all told, I think the
You actually
parking,
came out a net positive. I think the
I think,
hat
yeah,
was
the hat was
less
like
than the parking would have been.
$34 and the parking would have been 45. Yeah. So all in all, I think I succeeded here. Um, But so, look, we lost the 2 games with Gardner Minshew. He was, we'll call him less than stellar.
He was less than stellar in one and the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the other.
Worst is we've seen some really bad quarterbacks. Like
He was
think
real bad.
think New York Jets. Like I think he was better than a New York Jet quarterback.
I would rather have, and you and I both know how much I hate Zach Wilson. I would rather have Zach Wilson as my backup.
Really
He was that
interesting.
bad.
He was bad. And so Jalen Hurts comes back last week. And I think I told you I put the Giants were like plus 575. And I was like, this feels like it could hit. And if I spend all this money on a ticket, at least I could get on a $20 bet, like, $100 back. And so I put $20 on the Giants to win just to
You
like
put 20? I didn't realize you would put 20 on it. I thought it
20
was
bucks.
like a $5 thing.
No. I put 20, like
You're an
$5
idiot. You're the worst better of all time.
of all time. It's a good thing I don't
Have
have
you
a
ever
gambling
hit?
problem. I was thinking about, I don't think I've hit in a really long time.
Because you bet what? What was it? Purdue the other day?
I did bet Purdue against LSU because I was like, you know what, this is gonna. They were,
And
I
that was
think
a was that a bigger blowout than Georgia TCU?
it was not bigger. I think it was 63-7. This
I
one was
think it was.
65-7. So it was
So it
not
was
bigger.
close.
Look, it was a
Close.
rounding error as the same, right?
Did you also bet TCU though?
No, I did not.
So
No, I
you
knew that.
lucked out.
I
Okay.
felt like they were going to get their asses whooped. I really
You
did
felt
feel
like
like
the experience of 87-year-old Stetson Bennett was
I
going to push
did,
them
and I
ahead.
felt like he learned, from the Ohio State game. He wasn't pleased with his performance. No, I felt like this was going to be a cakewalk, and it turns out it was. I was right. Um, and so, but Jalen Hurts plays, and it just felt. Here's the way I felt during this game, and you tell me if you agree. Now, we also had nice seats. Like we did it
We
in a
did.
different way. We bought
We had
club
really
box.
good seats.
I bought first row club box. And so it's the second tier, but what's nice about it is there's a whole indoor area where there's food and there are bathrooms and it's warm. Beautiful. I mean, if I could get season tickets, that's where I'd want my season tickets. But row 1, like I don't want row 5 or 6 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2. And so I felt like the game was never in doubt, but we never put it away either.
I
How
would
did you
agree.
feel throughout the game?
No,
Like,
I felt roughly similar. I remember At halftime, I texted a friend of mine who's also an Eagles fan. And I was like, the defensive unit looks a lot more put together and just like more solid with CJ Gardner Johnson back. And then they made me eat my words in the second half. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Slay, but he's got to pick his shit up because he has not been good the entire second half of the season.
By the way, who's my favorite player on the Eagles?
Who is your favorite player on the Eagles? I don't even know anymore.
I mentioned him about 63 times during the game.
Oh, yeah. It's why am I blanking? Kaiser White.
He is my favorite player on the Eagles. That
He was
guy,
everywhere.
awesome. Awesome. And the tackles he made were outstanding. That's my guy. From
He
now
had
on, like
been a
I'm not a
little
jersey
bit
guy,
iffy. Oh,
but if
wow.
I wore
That's
a jersey
strong.
guy, that's the jersey I would get.
So he had
100%.
been a little bit iffy the last 2 weeks before the Giants game. But before that, he'd been outstanding. And then the Giants game, I thought he was also outstanding.
They kept calling that guy's name. And some of the tackles he made, like there was one open field tackle that if he didn't make it,
Yeah.
I don't even who gives a shit which giant it was, but he was going to the house. He was taking it to the house. And there was no doubt. He grabbed him, tackled him by the ankles and had him. And like it wasn't like an ankle biter tackle either. It was a legit tackle. He was outstanding. My favorite player on the Eagles. All in all, like it was, and so, you know, was there anything else you want to talk about during the game? Like it's pretty self-explanatory. We won 22-16.
Jalen
Hurts had
Hurts
an
does
okay
not look
game.
healthy.
He had an okay
They
game.
keep
Thank
talking
God we
about
got the
how
one
he was
seed.
hurt and everything. The one seed's huge for this team because everyone is banged up.
Yeah, they're
Except
getting
for
2 weeks off.
our pass rush, who just
So
outstanding.
realistically, who are we gonna play? Jacksonville? No, that's AFC.
What?
Who's the 4 seed?
That's
I'm
AFC.
sorry. I was thinking I don't know why I was thinking Jacksonville. Who's the 4 seed? So San Francisco's the
We're
2.
playing either Tampa Bay or
That's right. Tampa Bay or
Dallas.
Dallas. That's I knew it was like a because it was one of those 50-50 games, and I don't know why
It's the
I brain farted
4-5 on
that.
the other side that you were thinking of.
Right. Which is also like a, a pick 'em game, right? That's what they're all saying. So because I don't think Seattle's gonna beat San Francisco. I
No
don't think the
chance.
Giants are going to beat who's the fourth
I
seed?
do.
Really?
Vikings are frauds. They have been
Oh,
all year.
so I did a $5 parlay
Oh boy.
and
It's not hitting.
I picked every game. Can I if
I
this isn't
need
going
you
to
to
take
read this
long,
out to me.
I'm going to read this out to you. It's like a $5 parlay. It wasn't a lot of money. Um,
NFC
and
and AFC or just NFC?
I don't remember. It was late at night and I was kind of just bored
Oh
and I had
no.
$40 in my account. So
Oh
I was like, you know
no.
what?
You put forty
We're going to bet.
dollars on this?
No, no, no. I did not put $40 on this. I put
I
$5
never
on this
you
one.
need to consult me from now on. I'm your
No,
betting
no, I don't like
consultant.
insults. I like making stupid bets because they're fun. So, I bet Tottenham to beat Arsenal
I
at
don't care. That's a bad bet.
230.
It's a terrible
I
bet.
bet um what did I bet? Eagles as Super Bowl winners at 5-1 odds. $20 on that.
Which you should have done at the beginning of the season if you had talked to me, but instead you wanted to go with the fucking Raiders.
But I went with the Bengals too. It's a good bet. It's a
I
good
don't
bet.
care. I told you the Raiders were a terrible bet.
I then bet here's my parlay, my 6-pick parlay for wild card weekend.
Oh no.
Niners,
Okay.
Chargers,
No.
Bills,
Yeah.
Giants,
Yeah.
Bengals,
Yeah.
Cowboys.
No. I'm disagreeing on two of those. I think Jacksonville wins, and I think Tom Brady, I think they said, has never lost to the Cowboys, not a single time in his entire career. And it's
Um,
Dak Prescott in the playoffs and Mike McCarthy in the playoffs. Like, no fucking chance.
I don't know. So the odds on a $10 stake, the odds aren't all that great, actually. They're like 12.5 to 1.
You
Not
got
great.
hosed.
I mean, that's what the odds are. So I'll make $123 or something. My Super Bowl Bengals pick, $25. I could cash out for $46 right now. So that's in the money.
Wemby.
I'm not going to do that. Although I should have
Yeah.
cashed out on a fucking Phillies. That bet was worth, I don't remember what it was. Yeah, and
But
my
at
my
that point, you're too
Raiders
far
bet.
gone.
And here's the best part though. My Raiders bet, they're leaving it on the screen because they leave it
As if
here.
they could still do it
Well, until there's a Super Bowl
until the
champion
Super Bowl's
crowned,
done. Yeah.
so it just lingers
They
here,
just want
like
to remind
teasing
you.
me.
They were like, you thought.
Right. What we and I use an odds boost token on this one.
Oh,
So
you
instead of
idiot.
30 to 1, I
Oh,
got
God.
33 to 1. I mean, look, the $25 stake would have paid out 852 bucks. Didn't happen though. There's a
You are
reason
really
why
the worst
casinos
better.
are in business though. It's because of stupid
Because
idiots
of
like
idiots like you.
but going back, I do think the Giants are going to beat the Vikings. Obviously, in my
Which you
late night stupor,
literally
I
did.
thought
You
that
said, I don't think that. And then you were like, oh, wait, I bet
yeah. Wait, I think yeah, no, you reminded me. I bet that. I was like, Ari's probably going to go with the Giants, and I'm going to go with the Giants. So
Look at that.
I did think about you with that one. This really feels like the odds should be better though. 12 to 1 on a
12 to 1 is
six on
weak.
a six pick parlay. I
I
picked a
guess
lot
you
of
did.
favorites.
You picked a lot of like heavy favorites.
Yeah. Look, I did. So that would mean if this all hits, then we would play the Cowboys. No, we play the Giants. The
No, we
Giants are
would
the
play
sixth
the.
seed.
Oh, does it
Nope.
reseed
They
it?
reseed. Yeah, I looked it up.
Oh,
Yes, I
okay.
looked it up. So they would reseed. We would play the Giants at home, and I like our
We'd
chances.
kick
But
the shit out of them.
so
We would kick the shit out of them.
and look. It's either the Giants or the Cowboys or Tampa
I
Bay.
think we would kick the shit out of either one.
Um, So where do you think we finish? Where do you think what's this the end of the season looking back, we say the Eagles were blank.
I'm caught in two minds of we are NFC champions who lost in the Super Bowl and we lost in the final round of the NFC to the 49ers.
So I feel like the Eagles are going to be a lot like I'm going to say Argentina. And so they're either going to lose in this first round or they're going to win it all. I just have
There
that
is a
feeling.
possibility of that.
That's
But
the
I
way I
just
see it.
I don't know that anyone really scares me until we face the 49ers.
49ers would be everything goes through Philly.
Everything
And
goes through Philly. Which
I'm not
is and playoff Philly, yeah, it's just different, I guess.
It's real so I thought the crowd was flat against the Giants. The place was almost not half, but it was pretty empty when the game started, and I was surprised by that. But it's a late start, parking was a nightmare, and it didn't as much as it didn't mean anything. It felt like again because I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
people thought with the Giants not starting their starters, I don't think anyone actually thought the game was in question. So the crowd wasn't that into it, whereas playoff Philadelphia crowds are insane.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I think if we played the Niners, let's say in the NFC Championship game, I just think the weather, the crowd, and everything would be to our favor, and I think we would pull out of that one. But I'm scared of this first round game. I feel like if Dak makes it out, has a
Dak
good
is
game.
ass. No,
I know
Dak
you
is
think
dog
that.
shit.
Dak has a good game every 3
I am
games.
you know what? I am more scared of Daniel Jones than I am of Dak Prescott. And I'm not scared of either, but Daniel Jones is more dynamic and Dak Prescott is way too prone to picks.
Yeah. But, every once in a while, I don't know enough about Daniel Jones and I haven't watched enough of his games. I don't rate him very highly, but I've seen Dak just have these like, you know, 24 for 30 for 422 yards and 3 TD games. And I feel like he's had them against us. And so he could pull one of those out and we're going home. Well, we're
Well,
already
you're
home.
just thinking that because he did that to us against the Gardner Minshew led Eagles, where our
No, he's
defense
done it
was
in years
like
past.
really
I don't.
atrocious.
Yeah, but he's done that to us in years past. So we'll see what happens. Um, Obviously, we have a bye week this week, which is really nice. Um, and I will tell you, like, I've never liked going to football games, but sitting in those club box seats, I
Yeah,
kind of like it.
I when I was sitting with you, I could tell you were just like you were happier because you knew you had a space inside that you could go to.
Yes. Whereas if I'm outside for 4 hours, man, like you just wait for the game to be over so you can walk home or walk to your car and get in the heated seats. Like that's all you want. Whereas here, I walked inside, it was nice and cozy. The bath, like my hands weren't cold when I peed. I hate when my hands are cold when I pee.
It is the worst.
It's so bad. Anyway, Eagles. We'll see what happens. Now let's talk about the Sixers. So I want to remind you of a time when we talked. It was right around December 5th. The Sixers were 12-12. And so you and I joked like it's a 58 game season. And we are now 16 games into that 58 game season. And we are
13 and
3.
3.
13-3. The losses to away at the Pelicans, who we then beat at home, away to the Wizards. And I think we're one
Which
and
you
two
just
at this
knew was
point.
going to happen.
You
We had
did.
won 8 games in a row at that point, and it was just the most obvious loss of all time.
And the Wizards are 2-1 against us. And then it was a home loss this past Friday to the Bulls. And so you and I have been running this experiment. When we watch the games together versus I watch the game alone versus I don't watch the game at all. And while I don't have the stats, I don't remember actually which ones. Let's just say that when you and I watch the games together, I think they're undefeated.
Yeah.
Although the Wizards game we kind of watched together.
That doesn't count. No, because I was sitting at the couch for the most part, and you were not watching with me.
Right, I was
And
in
then
the
I
office. Yeah.
left, and that's when you started watching.
They were already down by that point. Um, I feel like when we watch the games together, they win. When I don't watch the games, they win.
They win.
Last night as an
And when
example.
you
And when I
watch
watch
the
the games
games by
alone,
yourself,
they tend to lose. And so we're running this experiment until there's a time when I don't watch the game and they lose, and then we've broken the cycle and I can go back to watching. So I have not watched the whole heck of a lot of the Sixers. And it's upsetting because I love basketball so much. But on the other hand, I'd rather they win. And I'd rather not be frustrated because even when they win, and even when Joel scores 40, I'm like, this is like the worst 40-point performance I've ever seen in my entire life. But he seems to be scoring 40 every fucking game. So I don't know what to think of this guy.
he's the best player in the league. He's the MVP. It's pretty simple. And yet, at the same time, like, he is the worst rebounder. Like,
The whole
genuinely
team.
the worst.
I mean, they might be the worst rebounding team of all time. They're
but it
horrible.
starts with the 7-foot center.
I mean, PJ Tucker can't jump anymore, so he's not rebounding.
PJ Tucker can't do anything anymore.
Tobias is not a banger and a rebounder.
No.
Melton can rebound.
Mountain can
Harden
rebound.
can rebound, but not as well as he used to. And that's about. And on the bench, B-Ball Paul's the only guy that can rebound.
I mean, when he plays, he can rebound. But
Niang
it's a
doesn't know
question
how to
of does he
rebound.
play?
Matisse doesn't know how to rebound. Um, Korkmaz doesn't know how to rebound. Montrezl Harrell doesn't know how to rebound. I don't know what happened to him, but
What the
I
fuck
I,
happened to him?
I never liked a 6'9" center. I've never
No.
liked them. They just
Well,
bother me.
except for B-Ball Paul. I like B-Ball Paul. He's the
Yeah,
exception, not the rule.
yeah. But so what? Your thoughts, right? You went to the Pacers game.
It was great.
Why, like Pacers game? Why great? We blew like a
Um,
27-point lead in the
but
last
it was
3 minutes of
so
the game.
interesting, and the crowd was so into it at the end. Like, you don't get that very often in regular season games because there's 82 of them and 41 of them are at the Wells Fargo Center. Like, people are checked out for a lot of them and for a lot of games, even when they are interesting. But this one was, we were decently far ahead and it felt like nothing was in doubt. And then things got close and the crowd got antsy and annoyed. And an annoyed Philly crowd is like the most fun thing you can be a part of.
So I've like it's very similar to the Lakers game. And the difference was Indiana actually pulled ahead and we had to come back to get to overtime, right?
And the way we did it was very interesting too. Like a maxi steal and fast break immediately. And then, like, there's a few seconds left and you have to rely on them missing a shot too. It's just, you were on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Now, for the record, I listened to that game and I had planned my drive up from DC around picking you up at the game.
I went with
And
a friend to clarify.
I went with a friend. And I literally timed it perfectly. I pull up to the Wells Fargo Center just as it was going to overtime.
The buzzer hits and he calls me immediately. And as soon as he calls me, I'm like, "You're here, aren't you?"
Yep.
And he's like, "Of
Now,
course I'm fucking here."
so obviously I knew you were there. A fucking
No,
Life 360.
you.
Oh, you're saying I was, yeah, got it. So what I will say, because I did a circle 6 times of the neighborhood waiting for you. Because I wasn't just gonna park and sit there and like, get on my phone and have someone carjack me. Um, so I decided to do a circle, and that circle ended up helping us park at the Eagles game. And so
Is that how you found out about those roads?
that's how I found out about those roads.
Wow, it all comes full circle.
It all
I
comes
didn't
full
know
circle.
that.
And I wasn't going to spoil it while we were talking about parking because it's like a comedy show. You got to come
Yeah,
full circle.
you got to
And I
come
came full
back.
circle there. You
No,
like that?
I appreciate that.
Thank you very
That
much.
is good
Appreciate
hosting.
that. Yeah. So, anyhow, so let me ask you, um, Tobias, do you like his game when Joel's out, or do you like his game better when Joel's there?
I actually am not sure it changes as much as you would think it does. For the most part, he's remained pretty consistent in that, like, essentially, I'm just a really good role player role, which I appreciate because I don't want Tobias dribbling a lot. I actually think if you give Tobias the ball and he doesn't shoot within 4 seconds, he should be forced to pass the ball. There is no world in which I want Tobias taking up more than 4 seconds of possession.
I don't disagree with that. I do think he changed his game a little bit. I think he tries to take on too much, and I think it actually hurts him
I
versus
actually
helping him.
don't. I think he's gotten a. I think he did last year when we got Harden at the back end of the year when Joel would be out. He would do that, but I think he's gotten a lot better about it this year, where he's willing to let Harden and if Maxi's playing Maxi take on more of that burden, and he just kind of stays consistent.
So I think that segues into another question, which is how is Maxi's return going?
I mean, he had a broken foot. It's been fairly slow, but he's shown flashes of like the player we know and love. I'm not putting too much into these first few games. Come back to me in 2, 3 weeks, and if it's still looking like this, I might be a little worried. But
So I would agree with that. I think it's a little too early. I'm glad he's back out because it was annoying me when he was in his hoodies and
Oh
sweatpants.
my god, you were so mad at him.
I was so mad at him. I was like, just get on the fucking court already. It's enough
I
of
was
this
like, he
shit.
has a broken foot, and
Yeah,
you were
no, I
like,
don't
I
care.
don't give a
I
shit.
don't care. Wrap that thing up and get out there. That's to me, broken foot, like it's like turf toe. Is turf toe really an injury?
How are those the same at all?
I don't know. They both bother me about the same. Like if you're gonna
That
be
is
injured,
that is
like
absurd. It
just
is a broken foot. That's
yeah,
the thing
no,
you
but
run
it's
on.
I don't know. I feel like
You're an
turf
idiot.
toe,
No,
broken
you're the
foot.
worst.
Just get
You're
the
the
fuck
worst.
out there. Just wrap the thing up, right? Like you're good. So we're at the stage I think now.
Well, before we do, I mean, we're 13-3, and I literally have nothing to say about this team still.
I know I hate them.
I
I
don't
actually do.
hate them. No, the
No, no,
last
no.
few games have actually been pretty decent in terms of their performance. Like, they look more cohesive for the most part. But I just like the regular season to me is completely meaningless at this point. We've had 3 years of regular season success. It doesn't matter.
Look, they're 13-3 in their last 16, which leaves what 42 games remaining. So what are they going to do? They're going to go 30-12 based on what they've done. I'd say realistically, they probably go like 27-15,
Yeah,
right?
that sounds
And they
better.
end up like the 3 seed. So right, that would probably
It's
get them
crazy
to
how close we are to the 1 seed right now, given how far off we were to
we
start.
were right.
Because
Um,
people are talking about like the Celtics and the Bucks as like these tier 1 contenders. Since the first month of the season, they have not been there.
no one's running away with it. Like there's no, 62-20 Phoenix Suns running away with the Eastern Conference. And so everyone's kind of closely knit and closely packed. And so we could finish we're 25-15, we could finish 52-30, finish with like the 3 seed somewhere around there, give or take a few wins, right? That's probably where we're going to end up. And so I still just feel like we're going to lose in the second round.
Yeah, every year.
So
Nothing has
what's the point?
changed.
Like to me, what's the point? Why even bother this shit?
I
Feels like we're
do
wasting
like
everybody's time.
I do feel like this should probably just be the last year.
The
Like if
last
it
year,
doesn't
this is
work out
terrible.
this year, just
Just blow it
fucking
the fuck up. Just blow it
and
up.
I said this to you. We were at a dinner and it was during that game that we won against the Pels. And I said to you, and I quote, I would trade this entire team for Zion Williamson. And then I
Did.
amended my statement and I said, except for Maxi, because that would be a fun pairing. But literally, I would trade this entire team for Zion.
So I don't love Zion because I don't think he's
Oh,
going to be
he's
on the court
so
very much.
fun and he's so good. He's the most
And
fun player in the league.
he's, I don't,
Him and
so
Steph for two
he's
extremely
Charles
different
Barkley.
reasons.
He's Charles Barkley, but can't stay healthy because he's a little bit bigger. And as a result, like he's less durable than Charles was because Charles was 6'4". Like there was a little bit less to that. He was more compact, and I think that helped him. I'm not going to get into like the anatomy of shit. I don't even know what the fuck any of that is, but I just feel like 6'4" compact is better than 6'10" stretched out, but still wide
He's
and
six
fat.
six.
Either way, he's fat. I don't know. He feels like he's too heavy. Charles was too heavy, but he was more compact. Um, I would, and I don't love him, but if you were given the choice, trade Joel for the number one pick in the draft, would you do it? And some pieces, like the
No.
number one pick and like 3 other number one picks.
No, I don't like I don't like draft prospects enough and know enough about draft prospects to be confident in any
But
number
this is
one
the
pick.
Wenbanyama sweepstakes,
No,
right?
I
So
understand, but I would much rather like if you told me you can have Paolo Banchero and stuff, I would be more willing to listen to that than you can have 3 first round picks. Just because I know what Paolo is and I've seen him play in the NBA enough where I can kind of like, okay, this is around what his ceiling is going to be. Whereas I just don't watch college basketball enough to tell you anything about these prospects.
that's fair. Um, would you trade Joel for Paolo?
No, not Paolo. That was just my example, but no.
You would for Zion.
I think Joel is the best player in the league, but I would trade him for Zion because Zion is just more fun for me.
So
I
I
like to be
think,
entertained. We've had this
but
conversation.
here's the question: do you think Joel becomes an even better player with a different coach, or has Joel hit his ceiling?
I think Joel is incredible in spite of his coach, but think I think a better coach makes it easier for him to get to 40 points a game, but I don't think he hits like 70. Like I don't think he's
No, but
hitting a shit
does he
ton more
does
points
he
because of a
contribute
better
more
coach.
to the wins? Does he contribute
I think
more
he
to
contributes a lot to the wins right now. I just think it'll be easier for him to get those points, which is a good thing.
yeah. Look, I think whew, if we lose in the second round, something needs to change. And
I
that's
mean, the coach
something
is the first thing to go
yes.
immediately.
Right. And I think
I'm shocked it hasn't happened already. It
and
should
I
have.
think you give the team like a quarter or a third of next season to play with new coach to see how new coach does. And if nothing is really changed, then you blow it the fuck up.
Well,
Right?
Harden
Like
is definitely the first to go in that case.
you won't get anything for him. You know,
Depends on his play. He's been decent, like at
so
times.
do you think, and this is a good segue, Ben Simmons and what was it, 2 first round picks and Seth Curry and
Still a good trade. Yes, I do.
well, I understand you think it's still a good trade, but if you turned around and now traded Ben Simmons, what do you get for Ben Simmons? Current Ben Simmons, who in his last 5 games
Oh
has
boy.
averaged 26.4 minutes per game. How many points per game do you think he's averaged in his last 5?
Um, I look at his stats after the games every time, but I forget them pretty regularly. So I'm gonna go 4.7.
4.6. How many rebounds per game?
Uh, Somewhere between 7 and 8.
6.2. How many assists per game?
Really? 6.2. Let's
5.8.
okay.
How many steals per game?
Oh, I have no clue. Point 0.9.
So double that, 1.8. And how
Really?
many turnovers per game?
Ooh, 4.
1.8.
God damn
Um,
it.
so here are a few stats that I think are interesting, right? When your range is 13 inches and you shoot all of your shots within 35 inches, 3 feet, you would think your field goal percentage would be higher than 50.
You'd definitely think that, wouldn't you?
You would, and yet it's not because his field goal percentage is exactly 50%.
Mhm.
And his free throw percentage in his last 5 games is 20%. Now
Wow, it's that high?
I'm
In his
guessing
last 5, that's why. Because I think he had gone 14 games without making a free throw, and then he snapped it and went, like, 1 for 4 in a game.
so what I'll tell you is on the free throw side of things, um, yeah, I was guessing, but in the last 5 games, he's gone 1 for 5. On the season, he's at 36.4% for the season on his, in his free throws. And I will likely go back to this over and over. If you ask Ben Simmons, 2019 Ben Simmons, where he thought he would be on January 11th, 2023, what his stat line would be, do you think he would say, yeah, I'm probably averaging about 5 points a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists?
And then beyond that, do
Feels,
you think he's happy with that? Do you think he's like really ecstatic? He's like,
and
yeah, I'm
he's
at
saying
like
to himself,
5, 6, and 6.
and he's saying to himself, "Man, I've really developed my
I
game
really
in
had
the
a great
last
year.
4 years."
Yeah.
God, that guy is atrocious.
So I have
And
some
I'm so glad
statistics
he's
for
not a
you.
Sixer. Yeah.
So I have it here in a
Are you
tweet.
going to quiz me or are you going to just tell me
No,
the
no, no.
stat?
I'm just gonna
You
read
know
you
what?
some stats.
Okay.
Ben Simmons drives per game. Now, this is 2 days ago, so the stats probably like slightly different, but the point still stands. His
2 days
rookie
ago, they
year.
actually did not play. They played last on Sunday.
Oh, so they
So
haven't played since? So it is
they have not
exactly the
played.
same. Cool. Ben Simmons drives per game. 2017 to 2018, his rookie year. 15 and a half drives per game. Fifth in the NBA.
Solid. Solid. He would still do that little
2018,
flick, but solid.
it doesn't matter how he shot, nothing like that. Just
Oh, I
he
understand.
drove. 2018 to 2019, 9.9. Next year, 2019, 2020, up slightly, 11.9. 2020, 2021, 10.2. Not great. Then obviously we skip a season because, you know, he sat out a whole year. 2022, 2023. Now I want to ask you, what do you think it is? What do you think that number is?
2022, 2023. It's 3.7.
3.2.
So his high water mark was what, the 17-18 season, you said?
His rookie year, yeah, with 15.5.
And I was looking, so I wanted to see Joel, how many games he played that year. And it looks like he played 63 games that year. So it was a season where he was playing quite a bit with Joel on the court, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the year before Joel, 16-17, Joel only played 31 games. And so he managed to figure out how to get in the paint and drive towards a basket close to 16 times a game, even with Joel clogging up the
So
lane.
you're echoing a lot of what I tweeted about that. So I said, like, what makes the stat worse is that it's all mental. Like, his physical tools have not declined. He can point out, like, oh, I've got a back problem now. Oh, I've got a knee problem now. But, like, no, you fucking don't. You're just a pussy. Like, the only difference is his mentality. And oh, by the way, like you said, he doesn't have a Joel in the lane anymore.
No, now he
He has
doesn't.
he has a Nick Claxton, and like in the pecking order, you would think max player Ben Simmons is higher in the pecking order than Nick Claxton, to where they would move Nick Claxton out of the way.
Right. And exactly that's why I brought up the Joel stat was
Yeah.
because I was thinking to myself, well, what about, you know, Joel clogging up the lane? Did he even play? So Nick Claxton stats for this year, he is
No bucket getter, Nick Claxton.
averaging 11.9 points per game.
He's
He's
actually
averaging
had a very good year, to be fair, but
8.3
like,
rebounds per game. Now we won't get into like the assist and steals because that's not his
I
game.
don't judge Ben Simmons based on rebounds and assists anymore. It's just like it doesn't do anything. Obviously, he's going to get those stupid passes off and whatever, but like if he's taking 3 shots a game, that's a bad game. I don't care if
I
he had 11 assists.
I agree, but if he was averaging 11 assists, you can swallow it a little bit better, right? Like you can
I
deal with it
still
a little
can't.
better.
I still
Whereas
can't.
he's averaging 6. Like that's not all-star level, that's not great level. That is a mediocre mid-level cap guy.
I'm pretty sure that a guy like Donovan Mitchell is somewhere around there. And Donovan Mitchell is known primarily as a scorer who, at times in his career, has been known as a ball hog. Like,
Donovan Mitchell stats for this year are 29.3 points per game, rebounds 3.9, assists 4.8.
so it's not quite, it's one below, right? Ben was averaging 5.8 assists.
Yes.
So it's one below. But this is a guy who his entire career has been known as a shot chucker, a scorer, a shoot first guy. And like it's not that big a difference. Like I would expect 6 rebounds or 6 assists from my like secondary creator, not the guy who I'm paying a full max to, essentially to just be a passer.
Well, to play 26 games, to not be able to play in the fourth quarter, to get 6 assists and 6 rebounds at 6'11" with the ball in his hands all the time,
And
like
those rebounds are probably all defensive.
it's not interesting. It
It's
really is
not
not.
contested offensive rebounds either, if I had to guess.
Well, the good thing is you don't have to guess because we have those stats. And so if you look at his rebounds per game for the season, 6.7, of which 5.6 of them, 5.7 of them are defensive. So he only averages one offensive rebound per game. Although he really never averaged all that many offensive rebounds per game, anyhow. At one point, a couple years ago, he averaged two. Not a great offensive rebounder. So we've got our non-advertisement
Oh
section
boy.
of the podcast before we get into Tottenham. So we are having some
Hang on,
renovations.
before we get to it, I want
Can't
whoever is listening, all three of you, please put down in the comments right now, is this an anti-ad or a pro ad?
fair. We don't do this live anyway, but okay. So we are having some renovations done in our house. We essentially completed the office this summer, but we needed a door for privacy, even though it's not closed right now, and decided to also replace the 80-ish year old front door. Ari, did you know that doors are not sold with locks?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Frankly, neither did I. But that makes sense, right? Even though I never really thought it. So when we needed a lock, we turned to Kwikset. Since 1946, Kwikset has worked hard to understand the world we live in so that they can protect it. As a secure door lock industry leader and innovator in home safety, the company's unwavering commitment to meeting homeowners' needs has inspired its innovative lock portfolio that includes smart key deadbolts, keyless entry combination locks, and connected home technology that suit a wide variety of styles. Kwikset's interior and exterior products provide customers with the quality, technology, durability, and style they want while guaranteeing the highest level of security. By the way, I have absolutely no idea if Kwikset is any good. This is not a market I actively participate in or have
This
industry
feels like a
knowledge.
bad ad. This feels like a really poor ad.
So I don't know if they're the Jordans of the lock industry or they're the
Uh-oh.
Nikes, Adidas, Reeboks, or even Skechers of the lock industry. Good thing is, if the lock is shit, we can buy another one because
So
the lock does
everyone
not
down in the
come with the
comments,
door.
everyone who commented was incorrect because it was neither pro nor anti. You have no idea what it is.
Yeah,
It
that's great.
just exists to you.
It just exists. Here we go. Tottenham. Tottenham. I have a. We're not going to talk about the 5 stages of Tottenham today. I don't know which stage I'm in. I think it's anger, but it's
I
going to be
do.
anger
You're
for
in
a lot of ways.
anger. After
I'm
last
in anger.
week, you don't get to say it's anything other than anger.
No, look, we won against Portsmouth in an FA Cup game, but the Villa game, I was angry, like super angry. So
And
high
it
level
trailed
question.
over into the Eagles because this guy does not care about the Eagles that much. And he was mad. And I was like,
I
please
was.
stop letting your hatred for Tottenham right now just spill over into the Eagles game.
So very high level question.
Yeah.
Would you prefer that we play beautiful football and
Yes,
still
that
be
one.
below Arsenal, Or would
That
you
one.
prefer that we be above Arsenal and play boring, shitty football like we do right now?
Well, are we talking like Jose above Arsenal, where it's like seventh, eighth
No, no. Just eh, the question is,
in the
it
league
is
as
what it
it
is.
stands right now?
No, no.
No, but I
It's
need
not
more
about first
context. You
place.
can't
No,
give
you
me
don't.
this. No,
It's a
because
very simple question.
if we win the league, you've got me. But if it is anything other than we are winning the league, absolutely the fuck not.
So I'm going to be very clear. I hate Arsenal more than I like beautiful football. I just do. They're not mutually exclusive. We should be able to have our cake and eat it. We should be able to have good football and be above Arsenal. But I don't think we're allowed to have nice things as Tottenham fans.
No.
And so if you have to choose one, I choose being above Arsenal over everything else. And so I don't actually think you understand how much we're supposed to hate Arsenal. I don't think
No,
you
I
do.
do. I just like I watch us and I'm so miserable. Even when we win, I'm so miserable. Like there is no world in which we should be struggling to beat Portsmouth. And then,
Yeah.
like,
That,
the jokes after the game were all like, well, we just don't have the squad to play beautiful football against a team of the stature with a squad as good as Portsmouth. Because that's what he says after every game now. It's like, well, I just don't have the squad to compete. You don't have the squad to compete with Portsmouth? You can't play good stuff against Portsmouth? You fucking asshole.
yeah, I mean that game,
So
I
going
put down
off
one
of
word.
the
I put down a
okay,
word for that game. Uninspired. That's the
yeah,
word I for whatever reason. It was uninspired. We won, and no one in 5 years, no one's going to remember that it was 1-0 and it was an uninspired game. But it was horrible, and thank God we got what did we get? Like Nottingham Forest or Notts County or no, not Nottingham Forest because they lost there in the Premier League. We got Notts County, I think, or Preston North End in the next round of the FA Cup.
I
It's
don't
one
even
of
pay
those. But either
attention.
way, we're away, but we should win this game and we should get in the fifth round of the FA Cup, and it shouldn't be an issue.
You want to
But
know what's going to happen though? We won't.
no, I think we will.
I was
I think we'll
convinced
win.
the loss was going to come to Preston, but we have a Colchester moment
You
every
mean
year.
Portsmouth?
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth. Um, and I will tell you, I have a little fond place in my heart for Portsmouth because Jermaine Defoe played there. Harry Redknapp was a manager there.
Harry
Like
Redknapp
I
was in
actually
the
do.
crowd.
He was there. Um, that guy actually understood what it was to be a Spurs manager and what the expectation was of our
Bring him
fans.
back. Bring him back.
No, he's too old. But
Fuck it, bring him
so did
back.
you see what the Tottenham supporters trust, like what they wrote the board?
I did,
Have you
but
seen
I
this?
try I try not to pay attention to them, but it keeps popping up on my Twitter feed.
So I know what I do you care what they have to say?
No. And like the thing is, I agree with some of their points, but at the same time I'm like, who do you think you are? Like no one should give a shit what your opinion is. Just because
I
you're like
yeah.
the supporters trust.
I feel like they think they're way more important than they really
They
are,
do.
and they're really not all that important. And by not all that important, I mean like
Not at
basically
all.
their importance level on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 0. Like I don't
Because
give a
if the
shit.
club doesn't want to listen to them, the club doesn't have to listen to them. They have no
And
power.
here's the thing also is they still go to the game. So all of this talk about how upset and disappointed they are in the team, the one way they can show that disappointment is by not going, not paying for tickets.
Yeah, that's
And
how
guess
I show
what?
my disappointment.
But wouldn't that be how you would show it? Like you don't show up anymore, right? You boycott the games. Like, not that Tottenham gives a shit because one person out means a new person in. And so, like, I get these guys have get a life. Like, get a fucking life and stop complaining. The team is the team, and it's going to be determined by what Daniel Levy wants. And that's the only person that matters. And I'm fine with it. Because guess what? Our stadium is beautiful and it's a pleasure to go to. Even,
Okay,
well,
but he keeps hiring shitty managers.
but he doesn't know they're shitty until he hired them.
But he keeps
Past
hiring the
tense.
wrong no, but he keeps hiring the wrong type of
But
manager
so
too.
do we have,
He
we
keeps
may
going
have
for these
receipts.
win now guys.
Okay, so Graham Potter, who I believe on this pod you have stated as someone you would have liked to have been our manager.
And I still
How's
would.
he
I'd
doing
still
in
take him.
Chelsea?
He's doing
Okay, you still
terribly.
pick him horribly to the point. But I
No,
will
but
say, I give him a lot of
here's the
credit. They
thing,
signed
and
some
we
really good
talked about
players
this.
last week.
We talked about this. And I want to say it because it's my point that I want to bring up. You cannot give a guy like that a squad that Tuchel wants and Tuchel built because that squad has no technical ability. Their midfield is all runners. Their forwards are atrocious. Like their defenders are fine, but the fullbacks aren't what he needs. Even though Cucurella was with him at Brighton, like that's still not the right kind of player. And I'm sure if you asked Graham Potter if he'd want Cucurella or like a better left back, he would say he'd want a better left back. That's why he sold him. But I just like, and that's my worry with where we're headed is we're going to back Conte. We're going to give him all of whatever he wants. He's going to buy 17 midfield runners who have no idea how to control a ball or pass a ball. And then we're going to realize it's not working. We're going to fire him, bring in a good attacking coach, and be like, figure it out. And then we'll fire
So
him too early
I will
because you
say
can't win with that squad.
we haven't bought anyone yet. And I'm okay with that because I think
Basuma,
no, we haven't bought anyone this period, January. We
which
haven't
is a
bought.
problem too, by the way, which I want to bring up. I was going to bring that up later, but
But I think it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. It's kind of one of those where if we're going to buy players that Conte wants, we need assurances that Conte is going to be the manager because otherwise we're just going to be buying players who we're going to have to sell in 6 months when he's no longer the manager.
or
So
you
you
could do the smart thing and buy Pedro Porro style players who will be good for Conte and will be good for the next manager, but we're not smart enough for that. We don't operate well, which is partially Levy's fault and partially Paratici's fault and also partially Conte's fault. Like I don't place blame on any one party because they're all to blame, but if we want to tier it, and I always want to tier it, Conte, Paratici, Levy. That's my tier.
well, look, there are 20 days left in this window.
Which is a
I'm
disgrace.
I'm going to assume if you had to bet how many players we'll see come in the door, how many do you think there will be?
It'll be somewhere in the 0 to 1 range.
I think it'll be two. I don't know who the two are. I think we will see two.
Two isn't enough either, but
Who's going to go out though?
no one.
So
We are
I
the
think
worst at shifting deadwood of all time.
we are very bad. I mean, we waited until Dele Alli was worth zero when we could have gotten 50 million for him.
In fact, Joe Rodon might come back. That's
Well,
how bad we are at shifting deadwood is we might add an extra shitty player.
so you don't think Brian Heal's going to be loaned out?
No.
You
I
don't think
think given
Skippy's
what
going to be
we've seen,
loaned out?
no.
Do you think Skippy's good enough?
I'm not giving up yet, but if the form he's shown this year keeps up, no.
Do you think Basuma's good enough?
No. I
Do
was
you,
willing to give him a chance, but fuck that. We're out.
do you think Tanganga's good enough?
Absolutely not.
So I think we need to loan Skippy and
If you
Tanganga out.
if you ran me through the entire squad, I think there would be like 6 guys who I said were good enough.
But you're very pessimistic. So We're not going to
And I'm
run through the
right.
entire squad. Um, I think right now what we need an attacking midfielder. We likely need a winger. And if I had a third choice, I think we need a central defender.
So right wing back is not in your plan.
If it were up to me, I think Doherty, I was like Doherty is good enough for this half of the season.
But if
I
he
think
goes
Emerson,
down or because Spence isn't playing,
well, but that's just it. I think in order to eliminate all of the noise around that situation, I think you need to sell Emerson,
which won't
and
happen.
which won't happen, but should. And then what essentially happens is Spence is your guy. You don't have a choice. And he's
Except that
good.
he is. I listen, I agree with you, but we have to look at the guy that we hired and we have to either tell him, fuck off, you're not doing a good job here, and just fire him, or we need to like get him players he'll actually play. And I guess send Spence on loan so that he's not just rotting on the bench. But that doesn't sound appealing to me either.
No, I don't want Spence going. I think Spence needs to work with this team and this manager. And I think if his attitude is what everyone's saying, I think he's going to win him over. He has, like, the kid really
That's
works
the
hard.
problem, though. I think the problem is that Conte, and this is how I feel about pretty much all of our young players, is Conte doesn't want to play them so that he doesn't even have the possibility of being proven wrong. He would
You think
rather
he's
be
that
proven
stubborn?
correct. He would rather be proven correct than improve the team. I do actually genuinely believe that. I know I throw out a lot of hyperbole on this like podcast, and I say a lot of things that I probably don't mean, but actually do mean. But I do genuinely believe that he is that stubborn.
I, I hope he's not. I'm not. I'm not saying no, and I'm not saying I disagree. And this is the first time you've heard me somewhat acknowledge it. I don't want to believe it. Um, is Sonny cooked? Like
Probably.
cooked for the rest? Like he's done. That's it.
No, I think he'll have an uptick in form at some point.
Well, look, it can't get any worse. So
No, I just mean like he will have a patch where he scores in a few consecutive games and he looks decent. When he stopped, like Conte stopped doing with Sonny what made him so good last year. Like last year, he basically told him, I'm not going to have you be involved in any build up play. I'm just going to send you in as a runner and you're going to finish chances. And for some reason this year, he's like had him dropping deeper and getting involved in play. So I think he'll go back to what he was doing last year and score some goals. But overall, like his overall game hasn't been great since Jose came in because he had to sacrifice his all round game so that Harry Kane could become this like passer, playmaker, pseudo striker asshole guy.
yeah, I mean, look, Harry has not been the same playmaker he was last year, the year before. He's like slow and sluggish.
He
And I
always
know he
has
scored.
been.
No, but more so, I feel, the difference between the Premier League, I think there's nothing left in that can, Ari. Like, I see you drinking from
No,
it.
I just finished
It's
it. I
driving me
just finished
crazy.
it.
And it
You
feels
know
like
what?
there was nothing left in it for the last six
There
sips.
was a drop just there. There was a drop. And I
Okay.
could probably get another drop if you'd like me to continue.
No, I really
Are we
wouldn't.
doing this? Are we doing this?
Please stop.
Do I have to come down there and give you a little bump and then run back up here?
No, because it'll drive the dog crazy. Let's leave him alone. I don't even know where he is in this house right now. It's not such a big house. I
Probably
don't
the
know where
top
he
of the
is.
stairs.
Probably. Um, no, Kane. We've always said like the difference between the Premier League and like MLS, and there are many differences, but generally speaking, it's in MLS the amount of time someone's on the ball is significantly greater than in the Premier League. The Premier League, a guy is receiving the ball and immediately knows where he's going to go with it and does very little in terms of like actually holding up the ball. The bang 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 passing, and Kane was superb at it the last couple years, and he has now in the last 3 months been atrocious at it. Horrible. Like he cannot fizz a pass like he used to, and I don't know why, but he seems to be scoring. Now we talked about this I think at the last pod, which was he hasn't scored any with his feet. And then that second goal that he scored,
which I think I said was bullshit at the time, but
well, I will
I
say the
was letting you
second goal he
have it because I thought
scored
it was funny.
against Palace was the pass from heel was pinpoint accurate. The
Yeah, I
first
don't care
touch
about
from
the goal. I
Kane
just care about the
was
assist
pinpoint
because that's
accurate,
my boy.
and the shot was pinpoint accurate. It was an outstanding goal. Um, so
There are
this
only
week,
like two players I care about in this team. Three.
heel
Heel, Sar, Kuti. That's it.
and Sarr has looked good.
Sars look great.
Sarr has looked good. Every once in a while, his passing isn't. And I know his stats were like 94% pass efficiency,
He's not
but
a
like
passer.
that
He
one or
breaks
two
up play.
passes, yeah, what weren't great. Um, he's been very good defensively. I've liked him a lot. I don't. I
He's
mean,
got this really long stride. He covers ground so quickly. He breaks up play so efficiently because he can get his long leg in the middle of things. He just like he's everything you'd want in a midfielder of that style. The problem is we have five midfielders who are all that style, all of which do it at varying degrees of efficiency.
I would actually
Actually,
like to
Bentancur's
see
probably a different style. So
Bentoncourt's
him
and that's the
versus Sar is
one.
the best.
Bentoncourt's the one I'd like to see Sarr play with, because I
Yes.
think Benton, we don't talk about box to box midfielders anymore. Like it's kind of not a thing.
We just haven't had
But
one like since Sissoko, essentially.
but I almost feel like Bentoncourt has turned into that because he's become a little bit more offensive minded in recent months, but yet he can also defensively pick someone's pocket back in the 18-yard box, right? So I feel like he's the closest thing we've had to a box to box, right, midfielder, and I think he would complement Sarr well, and I'd be curious to see those two play and Højbjerg not play, right? I know he's his favorite. Højbjerg needs to sit just a little bit. I think he plays too much. He's too tired. I think he looks off the pace of certain games
He's
because
just
he's
not
playing
good.
too much.
Let's just say it. He's just not good.
No, he scores goals though. But the one thing I
They're
miss,
so upsetting. Every time he scores, I find myself groaning so
have
loudly.
have you noticed though? Remember when he would lose the ball and he would do the "Ugh," like,
Yeah.
and he hasn't done it all season.
It's the only thing I looked forward to.
And I miss it so much.
I do too.
And I wonder if someone like called him
Got in
and
his
said, "By
ear.
the way, you look like you're having a seizure and like you need to stop doing that cuz you're
Or
fine."
when he would like slide tackle someone and he would end up on the ground holding
Oh,
something to avoid getting a yellow. Those were like the only parts of watching him that
those
I
were
enjoyed.
great. But he is scoring goals. I'm
It's so upsetting. I
And
wish he wouldn't.
Bentancur is scoring goals. I mean, the whole team is scoring goals. The problem is we're also having goals scored on us because our defense sucks. I
The
would
whole
like to
team is
see.
not
I
scoring
will
goals.
say this summer, I need for us to find a goalkeeper to replace Hugo
It
Lloris
sounds
because
like they're looking for it.
I think Fraser Forster, and I know he wasn't brought in to replace him. I know he's the backup. I think Fraser Forster might actually be older than Stetson Bennett, is how old he is. Like, and that's pretty fucking old.
I don't
So
actually think Fraser Forster is that old.
I think he might be.
Like
I
in
don't actually care.
comparison. I think he's like 36.
I mean, that's pretty old.
I mean, it's
He's
the same age as Hugo.
yeah. Fraser's like a 6'4"
Fraser Forster
goon.
is 34.
I think he's younger than you.
He's definitely younger.
He's just a goon, though.
He
I've used that word
is.
twice today. So at this point, we've got the North London Derby
Lose.
on Sunday.
Loss.
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a lot.
And like a bad loss.
I'm waiting for this Arsenal team to stumble and like every week they're not,
No,
and
they're going to win the league so
it's
easily.
so upsetting me.
We
I
talked
just
about this. We had this discussion. The debate on Twitter was essentially like, are Tottenham fans actually mad about the state we're in, or are they just comparing themselves to Arsenal? And I asked you this, and you know where I stand on it, but you were saying it's a little bit of both, right?
it's yeah. I hate Arsenal so much that when they do well and they're succeeding, it really bothers me. It brings me back, like it's almost like I have PTSD
From
to
when they were actually good
when they were
and
actually
winning
good
leagues.
and they were constantly battering us. And when Saul Campbell left, when Judas left, um, like I still have like just visceral reactions to that I don't like having. And when I think about it, it really makes me just ill. And sports shouldn't make me ill, but Arsenal makes
But
me
they do.
ill. They
The
do.
problem I find myself having really is not Arsenal are better than us, right? Like if Arsenal were sixth and we were seventh, it would not matter to me. I would think we were shit. I would not be comparing us to Arsenal. The problem where I compare us to Arsenal is Arsenal needed a painful rebuild, brought in a project manager, backed their project manager with good young players, played attacking and really beautiful stuff, even when it wasn't working, and just kept backing him. And eventually it worked out. And that's what I've been wanting for us for
Right.
so long.
But I've told you, I actually think we could go through a rebuild now, meaning like today, this
It
summer.
would be so easy.
Here's we couldn't do it up until now. And there's a reason for that. It's very simple. We were building a new stadium and a painful rebuild was not acceptable to Daniel Levy, Frank, and I get it, as that stadium needed to be filled with fans and
The
needed to
problem,
generate
though,
revenue.
is they also were looking at it as like, we have this window of contention with guys like Kane and Son and Hugo and like these guys, right? Of like, we want to extend their window of contention. That's like essentially what I see it as. Do you want to
So
know what I compare that to? Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers, where it's like you keep adding these like tertiary pieces instead of actually getting him the second star. So either get like really push or get him out of there and just get rid of them and
so
rebuild.
here's where I disagree a little bit, and here's why I think that. I think Daniel Levy, once he got to his third manager, right? So Poch lost the dressing room, Nuno lost the dressing room,
Jose lost the
Jose
dressing
lost the
room.
dressing room. What was the common
Did
denominator in
Nuno
all of
ever
them?
have the dressing room even?
No, he didn't, but but he didn't produce anything. And so the common denominator in all that was clearly not the coach. It was the players, right? And you had the spine essentially. Like, and I know that parts have gone in and out, but if you look at it, Hugo, Dyer, Sonny, Kane,
Dyer.
but that's okay. That's the spine, and the spine stayed the same, right? And that was the common denominator. And I think when he appointed Conte, I think he understands he's never going to win with these guys, but he needed to fill the stadium. And guess what? You know what the hardest ticket in the Premier League to get is? It's Tottenham. And that's what Daniel Levy wanted. He's now accomplished that. He's now built a worldwide brand with a stadium that can go up against any stadium in the world. Now he can do the
Now it's
rebuild.
time to rebuild.
Now he can do the rebuild. The question is, do you think a Conte is willing to go through that? And
I don't
he's
want him
probably
to. I
not.
want him to be gone so badly.
I think he's a great coach, though. I really do.
I
And
don't
I
anymore.
think
I can't find it in myself to believe that he is
But
anymore.
again, if you agree with the statement that the common denominator is the players and not the coach, then it's not really his fault. He was
Well, the
handed
common denominator is also the coaches have played the same style. Like,
that's his style
setting
though.
aside
That
Poch,
style is one.
but setting aside Poch, the style didn't work with Jose. The style didn't work with Nuno. Why would the style work with Conte?
It
This
wasn't going
defensive
to. It didn't need to.
counterattack.
It didn't need to. It was about selling tickets though. There's a business behind this.
No, but you're saying the common denominator is the players, so I'm just arguing that the common denominator is also the play style. The
Well,
players
Poch
are
got a
not
different
good enough,
style.
and you know that because I say that all the time as well.
But the last year and a half of Poch, besides the run in the Champions League, was horrible. And the
It
style was
was, but
different.
at least it was trying to have possession.
So go back.
It was just stale because we didn't buy players either. We
Yeah, there
went
was a lot.
a
Look,
year without buying a player.
because of the stadium.
That's
Again,
like
it all
again,
comes down to the stadium.
that's fine, but I'm not looking at it from a stadium perspective. I'm looking at it from a sporting perspective, and I just hate what I see.
The
And I see the
unfortunate part
same
is
issues.
soccer is not like football, American football, where in American football, essentially you've got the way it's structured with the draft, with the salary cap, with this, with all of the above, the scheduling is there's a rotation. Like there is no reason why a small market team like the Jacksonville Jaguars should be any good, but they're pretty good this year. Why? Because of the
Good
NFL's,
coach.
I mean, but because of the NFL's
But am I wrong?
desire
But good coach?
and need to continually make sure that there's a rotation of good teams because of how the league is set up. And you can't do that when there's no salary cap. There are no real restrictions on buying and selling
But that makes
players.
our life even easier
No, because now
because
you're,
we are almost guaranteed. Like, you rebuild, and you're not like, if
but you've
we
got a
decided to
fiscally minded
rebuild,
owner who's
but
always
if
paying
we
attention to
decided
the
to
numbers.
rebuild, it would not be we're finishing 15th for 3 years. It would be we're finishing in between the 7th to 9th range for 2 years. And then you do an Arsenal and you're competing for actual titles, which is the end goal. Being mediocre and finishing 6th to 3rd is not the end goal. As much as it may get you a little bit more money in the short run, in the long run, you'll end up like us with the Sixers, where it's just like, this team is never going to do anything. And you kind of give up.
Well, we have 20 more days in the January transfer window. We will see what happens.
Us being
And
a third of the way through the window and having done nothing is also a disgrace, by the way.
no, it's not. Let's not exaggerate.
Chelsea have brought in Badiashile and João Felix after
It's
spending a fuck ton of
impressive.
money in the summer window.
They have had a very impressive January window.
Meanwhile, we're stalling over a player with a release clause. We could pay it today and he would be ready for the NLD. Like, it's that easy, but we keep describing it as a difficult deal. It's not.
It's a difficult deal because even 30 million is a lot for him. If you're talking about Edwards, if you're talking about
Pora.
Poro, that's a lot of money
Edwards,
for
the
a guy like
same
that.
thing, also has a release clause, but his links are less reliable. I was talking about Pora, though.
Okay. So we're at the stage now because we're an hour and a half in, where we are going to go to the punch of the week. And we start with the man on the right hand side.
Dak Prescott.
Wow.
Dak Prescott, and this is kind of a season-long thing. It's been building, but it all culminated in him throwing a pick six and getting his back blown out by the Washington Commanders. But this man missed 5 games, 4 games, one of those two numbers,
Didn't he
and
break his hand?
still
And he
managed.
kind of needs to throw the ball with said broken hand.
Forget that. Still
Okay.
managed to
Checking.
lead the league in interceptions. That was my point. It wasn't that he missed games and that's bad. My point was, how do you miss that many games That's a big percentage of the season and lead the league in interceptions.
Frankly,
He is a bad player.
I
It's that
I don't
simple.
care enough about Dak Prescott. My punch of the week is an interesting one
Okay.
because he's a winner, big time winner,
Interesting.
big time winner.
Where are we going with this?
29-1 in the last 2 years of his college career. 2 national championships.
You are not. This
By
is
all
the
accounts,
worst punch of the week of
by
all time.
by all accounts, a very nice boy. And
Why is this what you're going with?
by boy, I mean old
Grandpa.
fucking
Grandfather.
geriatric man. He has no business playing college football. COVID, not COVID. The man started his college career in 1993 at the University of Georgia. I think he played with Herschel Walker. Actually, Herschel Walker's even older than that. And that guy's crazy, batshit crazy. And so my punch of the week, and I like him a lot.
Then why?
I think, and general, and he even got a haircut for the national championship game. I don't know if you noticed. Like normally he has that, like the hair's a little bit messy and it's a little bit out there, and he kind of shaved it down. He looked nice, and he destroyed TCU. But my punch of the week goes to Stetson Bennett
Because
because
he's the same age as NFL MVP winner Lamar Jackson. That's all that needs
and
to be said.
and Lamar Jackson has been in the NFL for 5 fucking years.
Yeah.
And with that, we thank all of our listener for sticking in for an hour and a half. And I thank
And I thank you. And I
Ari.
thank you for
It doesn't
hosting.
work.
Thank you so much. I
It doesn't
thank
work.
you.
It
I
doesn't
thank
work.
you. I
Goodbye, Ari.
thank you. I thank you.
Wow, that's close.